I'm not going to take a lot of time with my bio. If you want to see more biographical information, you can see my website, armentroutforcouncil.org. I'm Vivienne Armentrout. I will just say that I'm a former college professor. I moved here in 1986. I've spent the last 22 years in community and public service. I was on the Solid Waste Commission, the Ann Arbor Budget Review Committee, and then I was a county commissioner for 8 years. So I bring experience, knowledge, and well-developed skills to the job of representing the residents of the 5th Ward. But I'm also about change. We're hearing a lot about that word in this political year. What is change? The kind of change most people are talking about right now in our nation as well as locally means that we're not really quite happy with current trends. We don't feel things are going right and think we need to take some different steps. That's the kind of change that I represent. I got back into politics only because I believe our city is taking some dangerous directions. I had an interesting experience going door to door. People who really didn't understand, too much about the politics of the town would say, well, how many Republicans are on council? And I said, none, they're all Democrats. Really? I think a lot of our residents have a sense that the city is changing and they don't think it's changing for the better. Here's what I want to change. I want to put a stop to decisions made by a few people in secret that get approved with no public input. I could talk about the purchase of Teos the other day, but I have an even better example. A few months ago, the city issued an RFP, that's request for proposal, for the sale and development of 415 West Washington. Now this had several important policy implications. Of course, City Council does policy, that's a theory anyway. First, just selling this piece of public property instead of keeping it for public purposes is a big decision. Then the implications to a future greenway, the implications to flood prevention in Allens Creek watershed, those are all things to be considered. The possible effect on the neighborhood, it's right in the middle of that Old West Side, Washington Street area. Also, several nonprofit agencies had expressed interest in the area. So, a small committee of staff and a couple of council members met in private for months. Council members, let alone the public, were not able to find out what was being discussed. No drafts were ever released for comment. Finally, the RFP was released without council even having a chance to deliberate it. Now a select committee is reviewing 3 proposals, and to my knowledge, this is also being done in private, although I will say I haven't tried to get into the meetings. I want to see members of our community actively involved in setting its direction. When I first came to Ann Arbor, we had a large circle of citizens who served on boards and task forces that actually set directions and made recommendations. For example, the Budget Review Committee I was on included not one single elected official or staff person, although we did have staff support. We were just an assortment of citizens with no particular stake in any outcome. We were just charged to review the city's budget status and make recommendations. And our chair was elected by our committee. He was also a citizen. Nowadays, the task forces are heavily weighted toward inside players. For example, the Community Security and Public Space Task Force that came up with the alternatives for City Hall consisted of 1 city council member, the library director, 3 members of the DDA, the chair of the Planning Commission, a judge, and 2 development professionals. It was chaired by the city administrator. It's not surprising that they came up with a limited number of alternatives. This was not a prescription for thinking outside the box. I want to see that our government priorities are set toward meeting the needs of residents and local businesses. This is what we call service delivery. As far as I can tell, the current intent is to minimize the services the city provides even more in the future. To my mind, the first responsibility of local government is service delivery. People understand instinctively that they pay taxes in order to receive services. They don't willingly pay taxes so that officials can promote their pet projects. It's okay to use taxes to promote the common good, but the public would like to agree on what the good is. I also don't think that most residents of the city are concerned with how many lists we are on as a wonderful city. We want to live in a wonderful city. That means it affects our day-to-day existence in a positive way. I'm also concerned about the use of ever-increasing fees to pay for services. The user fee concept is very...
You're done.
Oh, I'm done already? Okay. And so that's the kind of change I want. Thank you very much.